Okay, let's dive right into this explainer of the absolutely incredible 2026 Czech Moto2 Grand Prix at the legendary Automotodrome Brno. If you thought you knew how a motorcycle race was supposed to unfold, well, this round completely tore up the script. We are looking at an 18-lap masterclass in strategy, endurance, and frankly, sheer willpower. Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of this thriller, lap by grueling lap, to really understand the race dynamics and exactly how history was made on the Czech asphalt. I mean, seriously, how do you win a Grand Prix after serving a mid-race penalty? In modern Moto2 racing, the margins are so incredibly tight that a single mistake usually completely ruins your chances of standing on the podium. But that was the seemingly impossible task facing QJ Motor MSI rider Ivan Ortola. He carried a long lap penalty into this weekend after an incident back in Hungary. Keep this question in the back of your mind, because his answer, it totally redefined race strategy. Section 1. Setting the scorching stage. 46 degrees Celsius. That's about 115 degrees Fahrenheit for those keeping track. That was the punishing track temperature on race day, paired with a sweltering 31-degree air temp and 41% humidity. Now, at a circuit like Brno, which is famous for its massive 70-meter elevation changes and constant, grueling demands on edge grip, a 46-degree track temperature basically just melts the traction right off the tires. It turned this 18-lap sprint into an absolute test of physical limits and insanely delicate tire management. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast in race dynamics right at the starting grid. On one hand, you've got David Alonso. This guy literally smashed the all-time lap record by over half a second in qualifying to grab his first ever Moto2 pole. Absolute perfect track position. But on the other side, Ivan Ortola. He qualified 6th, got bumped to 5th because of other riders' penalties, and, oh yeah, still had that long lap penalty looming over him. So the race progression was basically set from the jump. Alonso just had to manage the front, while Ortola had to launch perfectly, take his penalty, and then somehow miraculously fight his way back. Section 2. Alonso takes control. And this timeline brilliantly illustrates the core race progression. When the lights went out, Ortola got a lightning-fast start, jumping right into second place to put some pressure on Alonso. But lap 3 hits, and Ortola has to dive into the penalty loop. This hands Alonso clean, undisturbed air at the front to just dictate the pace. For 17 straight laps, Alonso commanded this race. But Ortola? He was far from done. He spent the entire middle chunk of the race methodically reeling Alonso back in, setting us up for a massive climax on lap 18. Section 3. The comeback drives. You really have to understand the severe gravity of a long lap penalty here. When Ortola took his on lap 3, he didn't just lose track position, he dropped over a full second behind Alonso. In Moto2, trying to erase a 1-second deficit against a pole sitter who has clean air, it's a monumental task. Ortola had to ride absolutely flawlessly, managing his tires on that boiling 46-degree asphalt just to slowly chip away at that gap. He essentially became Alonso's shadow for the entire second half of the race, quietly plotting his return. But while that tense pursuit was happening, we absolutely have to talk about local hero Filip Salek. Starting from second, Salek had a nightmare of a launch. He just got swallowed by the pack, dropping all the way down to 6th by turn 1. But spurred on by a roaring crowd of over 63,000 passionate home fans, Salek just put his head down. He completely carved his way out of the second group, pushing his calyx to the absolute limit to bridge the gap and join the frontrunners in 3rd place for the closing laps. It was a hugely popular comeback that totally shifted the race dynamics for the trailing pack. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. The championship chess match. We also need to look further down the field, because before the engines even fired up on Sunday, the current championship leader Manuel Gonzalez faced a massive setback. An overnight penalty demoted him from a really strong 4th-place qualifying spot all the way down to 13th on the grid. Honestly, in a field this competitive, starting from the 5th row can easily derail your entire championship campaign before it even starts. But look at how Gonzalez responded. It was a strategic masterclass. Step 1, he navigated the absolute chaos of the midfield to slice through the pack from 13th. Step 2, he hunted down the Boscascoro machine of his direct title rival, Izan Guevara. And finally, Step 3, in a brilliant display of racecraft, he executed a pass on Guevara on the very final lap to steal 5th place. He didn't just salvage points here, he actively stole them from his closest challenger. Talk about immense mental fortitude. Section 5, the final lap showdown. All right, let's bring it back to the front of the pack. After spending half the race just staring at the exhaust of David Alonso, Ivan Ortola finally had his prey exactly where he wanted him. He had successfully closed that massive 1-second penalty gap. But you know what? He didn't rush. He didn't force some messy overtake early in the lap. Showing incredible maturity, Ortola stalked Alonso through the sweeping curves of Brno, waiting for the very last corner of the very last lap to make his decisive lunge. So the crucial point is this: 0.096 seconds. That razor-thin margin is literally all that separated them at the checkered flag. Ortola perfectly timed his final corner drive to drag past Alonso on the run to the line, securing his maiden Moto2 victory in the most dramatic fashion possible. And honestly, it's a win made all the more spectacular because he pulled it off despite that huge long lap penalty. Just incredible. Section 6. The Aftermath. Looking at the broader impact, Gonzalez's midfield comeback was an absolute triumph for his season. By fighting from 13th to 5th and specifically passing Guevara, Gonzalez has extended his championship lead to a massive 50.5 points. He sits at 165.5 points, giving him a full 2-race cushion over Guevara at 115 and Celestino Vietti at 109. Gonzalez proved today that even when literally everything goes wrong on Saturday night, he has the pace and the racecraft to dictate the championship on Sunday. Which brings us to a really fascinating precipice for the rest of the 2026 season. Gonzalez has a vice grip on the standings, Ivan Ortola has just unlocked his race-winning potential, and David Alonso has found this pulse-setting, record-breaking speed. So as the paddock packs up the trucks and heads to the legendary Cathedral of Speed in Assen for the Dutch TT, the question is, with this kind of intense race dynamic, who can possibly disrupt this momentum? I'll leave you to think on that. Thanks so much for joining us as we unpacked the anatomy of this incredible Czech Grand Prix.